Welcome to the podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Zach Wright. He is the founder of Grapevine, a innovative new company that is pulling together services to collaborate remotely across different time zones and different management styles, etc. So Zach, why don't you tell us a little bit about your role at Grapevine and how it fits into the bigger picture there?
Yeah, so I'm the founder of Grapevine. I'm a solo founder, but I've been working with the team. We have a development firm that we work with, and I've been working with them since day one. The majority of them are based out of Pakistan. We have some people in the UK, and then we had one person in Canada, but now they're living in Texas. But yeah, so Grapevine, like you mentioned, it's a virtual office platform or a digital workplace. And our main goal with Grapevine is to be able to give employees this one place that they can go to instead of all these different applications. And so over time, we'll continue to integrate with a lot of other tools. But the main thing that we're trying to do is lower the chaos and confusion and bring clarity to organizations that are specifically remote and distributed. And so my role there as the founder, not being a technical founder, is everything other than the actual coding. Even though I am building something on the side that we're going to launch called Grapevine Workplaces. Um, but yeah, everything else is in my hands. So marketing, sales, operations, finance, trying to get investors, like you name it, that's what I'm focused on right now.
Okay. And you've had some really great wins recently. You just got an award. Can you share a
Mhm.
little bit about what that award was?
Yeah, so it was the first award that we've ever won. It might have been the first one that we were ever nominated or participated in, but it's from the World Future Awards or WFA, and we won the best B2B collaboration or best B2B unified collaboration and culture platform. And that means a lot to us because one, it kind of validates that we're moving in the right direction. And two, that people are starting to see the vision the way that I have seen the vision since day one. And it's just bringing a lot of these things together that have constantly set outside the flow of work. And so it's very validating and it feels good and super exciting to have that in our resume now.
Yeah, and not only are they validating that, but your customers are also validating that. You recently had someone that was deciding between SharePoint and Grapevine, and they chose Grapevine. Why,
Yeah.
why is that?
Well, I think it's mainly because there's not a lot of people out there today that say they love Microsoft anymore. Um, Beyond that though, because I mean, you always hear like Microsoft Teams, like I haven't heard anybody say that they love it. They say that their company makes them use it. Um, but whenever it comes to SharePoint specifically, it's that there's a lot of complexity in there. And I think that there's a lot of unnecessary complexity. Like we were talking a little bit before, where the way that technology is today, you don't have to have those workflows to be built in the front end or have somebody build it as a developer, like a SharePoint developer. We've built in our workflows directly into our system. And so employees or companies using Grapevine, they don't have to think about, oh, how do I fit this peg into the round hole and like do I have to hire a consultant to actually be able to use the product itself? So that's one element of it is like the legacy systems that are out there, even as good as they are in correcting and kind of level setting on the current landscape of technology, there's just still so much baggage to it that it's going to be hard to not have that complexity. The other thing is that to accomplish what we offer in Grapevine in a Microsoft suite, so to speak, is you need to have SharePoint and then you also have to have Viva Engage, which is kind of like their employee experience platform. Ours are tied together. And then you would have to have Teams, which is the chat functionality. Ours is embedded directly in there. So you're getting three things for probably the lower price. A lot of people think that SharePoint is free, but if you actually break it down, you're going to end up paying around like $38 around that per user per month, where ours is anywhere from $12 per user per month to $15 per user per month. So I mean, complexity, price, but then also just this consolidation of these features that should live together. I think that that's what really got them on board versus just having this stagnant, outdated system that is also more complex.
Yeah, it sounds like you just are great at pulling all these things together. I know at my work, I use Confluence for like the documentation and then Microsoft Teams, and it's just all scattered everywhere. And it's so hard to find what I need most of the time.
Yeah.
It takes so
Yeah.
long.
And that's the key thing, right? Like, in my opinion, whenever you say that you're using Confluence and then you're also using Teams, like, I mean, in 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 the idea of Microsoft, and I actually like Microsoft. I like Slack, I like Zoom, I like all these tools out there. But the thing is that they are adding this fragmentation that doesn't need to exist, right? Like Microsoft has all these tools. If they could find a way to bring them together, then they could probably beat us more times than not, right? But like it it's also the simplicity, right? Like if you think about somebody opening an iPhone for the first time, right? Like a 5-year-old could open it. We see it like with the iPad. Like they can open it and they can start using it. And we hear about the story of Steve Jobs whenever he was looking at like the 5-year-old kid that was just like automatically knowing how to do that. This was with the Apple II, but like they knew how to do it. And so every time that we're developing our product, and I don't know if this is a good thing or not, I think it's a good thing. We build for the laziest user because that's the person that's going to slow you down in your team. And so we need to be able to build for the laziest user. That doesn't mean that we're not adding all this other value to it, right? But we're building in the sense that we want the people in the company to actually use our platform and make it so simple that simple, but also provide the elements that solve the problems that you're talking about, right? So, yeah, like if you like in my mind, to go back to what I was saying, if you're using Confluence and then you're using Teams, chances are you also have SharePoint. So why wouldn't you just use a SharePoint documentation instead of Confluence? So this is what we see in a lot of companies. And so there's two different elements, and I'll kind of go in here and then I'll stop talking. But there's two different elements that I see us entering into an organization, and they're opposites of one another. So whenever a company is just starting out and they're trying to figure out what is the system that they're going to use, that's whenever we can come into play because now you don't have to get into this element of, okay, we're going to use this tool, we're going to use this tool, we're going to use this tool. You can use Grapevine. Now, we're not a CRM system, so you still got to get your CRM system, but you ingest that information into Grapevine, so on and so forth. And then the on the opposite end of that is whenever we see a company maybe like yours where you have all these tools, and so now you don't have a single source of truth. And so we become that single source of truth by bringing in the elements of Confluence. You can put it into our info hub, which is like our Google Drive without the limitations, because you can literally take anything like a link, a file, a document, whatever, and turn a piece of media and turn it into a shareable, searchable file into your system, right? And so it's on those two different spectrums that we come into. Like whenever the company doesn't have anything, or they're very like minimum on their tools, and they need something to keep everything together without being bloated, or they have so many different things and they need that single source of truth again.
Yeah, makes sense. So, what kind of shifts are you seeing in your industry right now?
So there's a lot. I think that what we see is there's these big headlines this year of return to office or RTO, and they're big headlines because they're big companies. And so at first glance, if you're not knee deep into the industry like I am, or like we are, then you're gonna see that and you're gonna say, "Oh, remote work's dead," or hybrid is over, and we're all going back to the way that we were pre-pandemic. But it's actually not true. Even the RTOs or the return to office headlines that we see from like Amazon, JP Morgan Chase, Dell, like there's a lot of companies that Meta, like there's so many out there that are trying to enforce RTOs. When you look at the actual data, the employees are not going in. And so there's this type of imbalance that's happening where leaders are trying to get that control, they're trying to get that visibility, and they're trying to go back to an outdated way of leadership, in my opinion. Then you have the other element, which is companies with 500 employees or less, 67% of them are in a flexible environment, meaning that they're not going into the office 100% of the time and they're not working from home or remotely 100% of the time. So there's this like flexibility element that some days we come into the office, some days we go into co-working, some days I work from home. So those are the types of shifts that we're seeing. And I think that we're leveling out on hybrid being the model that we land on for most companies. But I will say that like if I remember the numbers correctly, since 2013, the majority of companies that have been started are 100% remote or mainly remote. And so we see this shift, and I kind of relate it to not just the pandemic, but also a generational shift that we see where, and this is no disrespect to anybody who's like older or anything like that, but the way that the boomers and the Gen Xers, and if I'm maybe they're the same generation, I always get them mixed up,
Yeah.
but they're exiting the workplace. And so now we see the majority of people in the workplace, they're millennials and then their Gen Zs are on the rise, right? And so if we think about how they've been exposed to the workplace or the work environment, it hasn't been 100% in the office 5 days a week, like Monday through Friday, right? It's been honestly, I don't think that they've had a stable mechanism for we're going to go into the office or we're not going to go into the office or we're going to go into the office this many days. And so I think that like over the next 10 years, let's say, we're going to get into that sweet spot of like we had 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, we're going to find that balance, but it's going to be more flexible. And so, in our opinion, at Grapevine, that's the importance of a centralized digital workplace. And that's what we provide to companies out there. Because if you're not in the office, 100% of the time, you need a way to keep everybody aligned. And especially as we go more global, which we are already, you have to be able to manage that workflow and workload across time zones too, because it's not just physical space or working from home anymore. It's about these people are working in the same company, but they're not working at the same time. So how do we overcome that? So long answer, but that's what I'm seeing in the industry.
Yeah. And how do you think that trend is impacting your business or growth strategy?
Well, I think it's actually helpful because as I was mentioning with like the validation of the award and companies choosing us over like SharePoint, Notion, Slack even, um, it's proof that we're moving in the right direction as a company. And we even see certain things like this app space, which is a big employee experience, intranet type of platform out there. I think it's like the largest on the enterprise side. They just acquired Igloo, which is a digital intranet. And so, and they acquired, they didn't tell them about the specific number that they acquired them for, but that's momentum for us because it tells us that the enterprises are scrambling around trying to figure out how can they have this centralized platform. And we play in the mid market. So we're looking at like 50 employees to 500 employees, right? And so like let them have their enterprise people. We want the mid people that need it the most, really, because they're stretched so thin. Let's make the work easier for them and better for them. Um, but then we also saw, if I remember correctly, I think it was Workday purchased a company. I can't remember their name off the top of my head right now, but they purchased a company for their AI enterprise search for about $1.1 billion dollars. And so, yeah, with a B. And so like this is really good for us in our minds because we see the market shifting, going from, okay, there's this fragmentation, now we want to bring it together. But our vision is not just, we don't want to be the everything app, right? I think that's where a lot of these people are making mistakes, or companies are making mistakes, because they want to be the everything app. You look at like Notion, you look at ClickUp, you look at, I think that they're trying to bring it all in-house. What we want to do is not just be the virtual HQ or the workplace or the digital workplace. We want to be the virtual operating system. So let's take these systems that we're not going to play with, like that we're not going to recreate, for a better term there, that we're not going to recreate, like CRM systems, marketing funnels, like HR software. Let's take that information and bring it into Grapevine so you can give the employee one experience, but still have the best of all those worlds. Right now, we're still going to replicate some of these, or replace some of these, but we don't want to replace all. We don't want to be the everything app. We want to be the app that everything can go into. And so that's our a strategy, our vision of where we're trying to go. And we see the market going there, but I still think that they're thinking about it this way. And we're thinking about not just replacing the traditional office, but building the new office. So it really helps us, in my opinion.
Would they be connecting through APIs then for those other services?
Yeah, so some of them they'll be connecting through APIs. Right now, for transparency, we have Google Drive integration, we have Google Meet integration, we have Slack integration, and then you can embed Looms, Vimeos, Zoom calendar links, and then YouTube. And so like we still got a long way to go, but in some cases it would be through APIs. In other cases, it would be you could just bring that information into the system where we can then internalize it, read it, and then whenever you search for whatever it is that you're looking for, you can easily find it because that's a big statistic out there. I've heard ranges from 1.8 to 2.5 hours a day employees are spending just searching and trying to find information in their own organization, and it already exists. So that's one of the big things that we really want to focus on too. Right now, we have the foundation, we have the organization that you can easily bring in the information, the most important information in your organization into Grapevine, and then be able to find it later because we have these search capabilities that you're able to make it a little bit easier.
Yeah. So what's been working well for you right now and what's been frustrating?
What's working well is, I mean, the more people that we speak to and we can show the platform and they can see like the vision, then the more likely we are to convince them to use us. And I hate using convince because it seems like you're like tricking them.
Yeah.
But what I realized recently actually is that Grapevine's virtual office or virtual HQ is this new way of working. And so people right now are familiar with all the tools that we've already mentioned, right? So Slack, SharePoint, even Teams, like they're familiar with this type of, let's say, workplace. I think that's a generous term to them, um, but they're familiar with that. And so, with anything new or different, we have to be able to show them the way and show them the way in a sense that shows that how we're doing this is better than what they're doing now. And so we've the thing that has been going well is we've kind of like shifted how we speak about Grapevine to employ or to companies that we're speaking with. And so it's not about just like communication. It's about communication with context. And it's not just about being able to bring all these things together. It's about having that single source of truth for your team, especially when they're distributed and working across different time zones. So like being able to one target those types of companies, it helps because they have the problem that we're trying to solve. This idea came from whenever I started working 100% remote with about a 150 employee company that was spread across probably like six different continents or like definitely 6 to 7 different time zones. And so we had to develop certain mechanisms and I saw the fragmentation. So being able to like really speak to the customers pain points and use their own language because I was them and I'm not them anymore because we use Grapevine, but we're still not perfect, I won't lie. Um, and so that's working well. And I mean, as far as like getting in front of people, it is very saturated out there. So I've been connecting with people here I'm in Concord, North Carolina, but I go up to Charlotte, North Carolina a lot. And so I'll meet people in person because that's another thing. Like whenever you get to speak to the person and you actually get to know them and show them the platform in between, they're more likely to take a chance on you. And that's what you need as a startup. And then so those are things that are going well. Um, the things, I mean, we still got to grow faster. We got to develop more in more areas to still get to that competitive level that I want to be at as a founder and as a startup founder. Um, but I mean, those things come with time, and I actually think that it's helpful that we focus so much on the foundation where because we don't have AI in our platform right now. We're working on something that I mentioned, like Grapevine Workspaces or Workplace. That does have AI, but like we don't have AI in our system currently. And I actually think that's a good thing because we've seen like the influx and the ups and downs of AI. And so now whenever we do add it, the foundation that we've built is only going to make it better. Because one of the things that we want to do with AI is AI enterprise search, so semantic and elastic search. And since we have the foundation, we're able to compete against other companies like Glean or Atlassian's Rovo or like you name those. Also, just fun fact, Glean doesn't take any annual contracts under 60,000 a year. We do, so reach out to us. Um, but yeah, so like when it like the thing with AI search specifically is garbage in, garbage out. So we provide the structure, and then when we add that layer of AI, it's going to be so much more valuable to the people who are actually using it.
Yeah, makes sense. So in order to accomplish those goals, what metrics are you most focused on improving?
Well, so the one thing that we're really focused on right now is customer acquisition. So we've built this strong foundation enough where we have companies using the platform, and we've seen like 9 companies join us in the last 12 weeks, I think. And so we're moving in the right direction, but we have to convert those into fully paying customers and then increase that revenue so we can get to the point of starting to feed the development through our own revenue. Right now, we've been 100% bootstrapped, and so I've been doing this at the very early stages. I was still doing like RevOps consulting, OKR consulting. Um, so yeah, like the metric that we're focused on right now is we want to get 40 paying customers by the end of this year, which is going to be a tall task. But um, if we can do that, then because we're also talking to angel investors, so we want to be able to have this traction continue to rise, and then also shoot for that 40 number. And once we get those numbers moving in the right direction, and we get a certain MRR, then we can get these angel investors that we've been speaking to invest in us, and then that helps us get to that point because once we get that, we can continue to invest in the development of the platform, and then that could help us get there. So the things like just to go a little bit deeper on that with like customer acquisition, some of the things that we're focused on is We're looking at like paid partnership programs to, because we were going to run ads like Google ads or Facebook ads, but instead of doing that, we chose to do paid partnership programs where we can tap into these communities that many of the people in our industry have already built, and we can go directly into the lion's den, so to speak, of the people who we want to serve, right? So that's one of the things that we're doing. We have sequences set up in Apollo. We have there's a tool out there called Atlas, and it makes like AI automated calls for you. So that helps a little bit. And then I'm still doing like a mixture of automated and manual LinkedIn outreach um, to get those out there. And we're also starting to bring in some outside contributors to our blog post. And then we're focusing on, I don't know if you've heard like the HubSpot marketing loop, but I've listened to the HubSpot marketing loop and then Neil Patel's way of getting your search traffic to pop up in AI search. And so we've been really doing a lot of what I call compounding marketing. So we'll do a blog post, we'll turn that into a video or vice versa, put it on YouTube, we'll break it down, or we'll record like short clips that we get out on YouTube and LinkedIn. And so those are some of the things that we've been doing to gain that customer acquisition.
Okay. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is. But it's all right. We got to do it, man. It's that Paul Graham quote. You got to do things that don't scale early
Yeah,
in the journey.
for sure. So the next 3 months, you want to have your next 40 clients. What about the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, so the next 6 to 12 months, we'll have angel investors. We'll have a direct team um, inside of Grapevine, and we'll have those 40 customers, fingers crossed, right? And with those 40 customers, we want to have Grapevine Virtual HQ and Grapevine Workplaces come together. And just like a little snippet on this is like Grapevine Workplaces is it's kind of like your personal productivity and performance management system where you have your task, your notes, your meetings, your development plans, your OKRs, you have pulse checks, like how are you feeling this week, good, bad, ugly, whatever. And then also like what are the things that you accomplished? And then you also have reward and recognition inside of there too. And so like what we want to be able to do is combine those two together to, because the way that I think about Grapevine is like I mentioned earlier, we're not just building a platform or another app. We're trying to build this new system or this new mechanism of working where it becomes the virtual operating system, much like Microsoft had Windows. We want to be that, but for the current landscape that we're working in. And so the combination of those two is something that I'm super excited about. Um, and then obviously we gotta integrate with more companies. So I'd say over the 6 to 12 months, um, we will really solidify ourselves as the go-to digital workplace or virtual HQ or virtual office for distributed and remote organizations in the 50 to 500 range of employees. That's our goal in the short term.
Very specific. I love it. You know your
Yeah.
market.
Yeah. I mean, I've been living in it and like since 2016, I've been constantly driven by how do we make work better? And I don't just see that as a software. I see it beyond. So I talked about HubSpot earlier. They're just a good example with this. Like, not only are they providing the software, they're providing the strategy and they're moving forward the industry with things like inbound, with things like marketing loops, like that kind of stuff. We want to be that, but for our industry.
Yeah, makes sense. So you mentioned you want to get those 40 new customers, the angel investors. If you had a magic wand to fix just one thing in your business that's holding you back or slowing you down, what would that one thing be?
getting people to respond.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean that's the thing, right? Like we were saying earlier, like everything's oversaturated right now, especially with the influx of AI, BDRs, SDRs, and the automation that you can do at scale right now. It's difficult to break through. Um, but then it's also the ability to get people to understand the new way, right? Because that's what we are. We're the new way of working, and change in organizations is very difficult. Like even today, I was reaching out to someone on LinkedIn, and they're going to shoot us over to their people team, and she mentioned like just in full transparency, they just implemented a lot of processes and systems. So I don't know if they're going to want to add another app. And so that's the thing, right? Like it's 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 difficult to get people to see like this is not another app. This is a system, and it's the new way of working. Just like you go to the office, the physical office, and you're flowing in and out, in our application, I look at it as different areas inside of the office. So if I go to our company hub, which is like the executive news feed, so the updates from the leaders, the announcements, the events, the social media posts, like those are things that you would get. Maybe somebody calls a quick meeting and says like, here's the update, but instead it lives in Grapevine. Then we have the community section, which is like the asynchronous water cooler. So it's like, I'm going to bump into you in the hallway. Well, let me just put this on the news feed. And now I know more about people in the organization. And so it's like, if I had a magic wand, people would see it the way that I do. But that's kind of part of the fun, right? Because you shouldn't just create something to duplicate what's already been done. You should create something to move us forward in a better direction. And so, yeah, that's kind of like the big picture vision wand, but the magical wand would be to get more people to connect and test us out.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, it's been very fun chatting with you about your business. I love all the additional insights that we gained today. And if anyone listening wants to reach out to you and talk to you about Grapevine, how would they do that?
Yeah, so I'm very active on LinkedIn, so you can reach out to me. I think my name is Zachary A. Wright, MBA, or Zachary Wright, MBA. You can also find us at grapevinesoftware.io. And then we have a YouTube channel too. If you just type in Grapevine Software, we try to put out the Future of Work weekly report. So you get insights into the future of work. And then we also are starting to break down our new framework that we've done, which is called the Digital Workplace Framework. And so we're breaking that down. We call it the five movements of work. And so we're breaking that down. So if you want to learn more about that, definitely follow us on YouTube.
Yeah. And for any of those companies that are looking to collaborate remotely and incorporate all those things into one solution, go look them up for sure.
Yes.
All right. Thanks. And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Thanks, everybody.